All right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian McLogan and just want to do a extra live stream for this week. So if you were on my open Q&A from last night, I just kind of, I don't know, was doing a little thinking. And I said, when would be the best time to go live? And I said, well, you know what? Why don't we just kind of go live every single night? I don't have any classes to prepare for it the next day, so it's a little bit easier. And I could do this during the summer, but I don't think many people would be interested in joining a math live stream during the summer. But I do realize that there are many of you that are working in your classes at the current moment, trying to figure out how to get around this coronavirus and, not being at school and trying to learn. I'm a part of a lot of different groups online that are kind of seeing what other teachers are doing, what other schools are doing. And I think it's kind of really interesting to kind of see how we're going to be able to come around this to still be able to deliver some education and also some students learning as well, and kind of seeing if any one of those or both of them maybe are going to happen. I don't really know. I just figured, I'll just go ahead and go live, just kind of check in with you. It's kind of funny. I was looking at my analytics because again, this is really nothing. I don't have anything to compare this, to. And typically you can kind of see where most students, obviously the majority of my students are in the United States. So you can see, from the time zone that they are, most people are looking at, in the evenings, right? Anywhere from like after 8 o'clock after dinner, 8 to like 10 o'clock. Whereas now you can see that peak time is like around between like 10 and 12. And obviously kind of makes sense. Students are mostly probably doing some work, during the day. And then in the evenings kind of dropping off. Hopefully they're maybe just, relaxing, as many of us are not able to kind of get out and about. So it is kind of interesting. But one thing I did want to kind of know from you guys, if you guys want to add into the chat, kind of if you actually have, because there's some things I'm like interested out that I'm probably going to put in some polls coming up, but you can obviously just check in the chat and that is something I'm able to see. But as far as like, do you guys have like assigned work as you're actually teacher doing what, kind of I'm doing as far as actually recording lessons and providing them? I did record my first lesson for my students today, and then I already uploaded the homework. But then therefore I'm going to provide it to them. I'm going to upload it to my website tomorrow. So therefore they can go ahead and review it. However, I don't know, like, do you guys are doing the same thing for your classes? My stuff isn't required. We don't really have any protocol for that, but I think my students kind of understand what I do and how my class, this is what I've been doing throughout this whole year. So they're kind of used to going onto the website, getting the information there and being able to do the homework. But for those of you that maybe don't have a teacher that's maybe does something like this, how are they going? Are they just giving you guys resources? Do you guys have work? Do you are supposed to review? I've heard a lot of things from teachers, so I just want to kind of see what you guys have. So Armando says, kind of. Piano said, yes. My school doesn't know how to do online. Yes, I would agree. I mean, I think our district is still trying to figure everything out. Udo says, I am from the Middle East. Armando, my teachers don't record anything. No, no teacher does what you're doing. That is kind of funny. There's not, I know, well, obviously not as many videos. There are actually a lot of teachers. And then actually, if you're really good about finding videos online, there's actually some really, really good instructors that upload videos. They don't do a lot of like optimization. So you actually have to really work hard to find some of their videos, but there's actually some really, really good teachers that upload a lot of their lessons that I've even found some inspiration for as far as like explanations by seeing how other people teach things. And, but a lot of them just, they do it for their class, which was my original intent too, is just uploading them for my class. So they might not have like the subscriber count or like the views and stuff, but there are some really good teachers out there that are doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. From on there. Super teacher, you're my teacher anyways. Yeah. And that's exactly the way that, a lot of times I think about it. And that's what I really wanted to, make sure that I was going to jump on stream. I was like, what, if my students were, actually, if you guys were all of my students and I was actually teaching a lesson, this is exactly how I would think of a kind of online course, to kind of be like, I'd provide the lesson. You guys can watch it, work on it. And then I'll provide basically like a little 30 minutes, a little Q&A, just to kind of check in with you guys. Now, Obviously, I have not provided my lesson, so, and all of you are not in my class or all in the same class, so that's not really going to benefit everybody. So I will be, happy to kind of answer maybe if you guys have any questions that are specific, and in general, that's not going to take me 20 minutes to explain or go over. But also, I just wanted to, one of the big questions I kind of talked about is like, are we prepared, to learn online? And obviously, I think a lot of you guys, from what I've seen from the chat, is no, we're not prepared, as far as on learning online. I know many of you guys have taken online courses before, or you're taking online class, but this whole idea, as far as, moving to a model of, learning online, like which many of you that be a part of my channel have really done. Do you think that, we are prepared, like, to really move forward? Like, not so much like now, we know now we're not prepared. Everybody just got thrown into this situation. But within like the next couple of years, where really we have like I'd say like a hybrid system, almost like a 50-50 mix of like in-person instruction as well as online instruction. Because I think it really is interesting when you think about the idea of, taking some courses, at other schools, or courses that your school doesn't offer. Or like, for instance, like I have my whole curriculum, available and made that I give to my students. Like, what about if that was made available to other students in different countries, in different states, and stuff like that? Like, is that maybe a model that would eventually ever become available, and how would something like that work out? So I don't know, some different things that I've kind of, thought about and kind of seen but really, it's not really so much as are we prepared with the, structure, but are we prepared as a society to really accept that? Because I think that's one of the big things that, we've been pushing a lot of this online instruction and teaching for a long time, but it really hasn't taken over, I think, mainstream. I mean, obviously the colleges have been doing a lot. We've put a lot of money into things, but I don't think it really has taken off the way that I think that now, kind of seeing with the situation that we're in, where we're required to having students learn online and to not show up to classes, that we're kind of thrown into this mix where we have to kind of make this work, whereas before it's like, we'll provide it. And if it's not bad, it'll just be free, which I've seen some of those like online courses, which is just, basically a poor recording of a lecture. And then you're like, okay, it's free. And, obviously there's really not much of a value to it. But I think as far as, really putting together a good solid course and having students be able to, select that. And again, like, maybe a student wants to learn pre-calculus from me. Maybe they don't want to learn pre-calculus from me. And, they could have that option learn from other people that are teaching the exact same topic, or, there could be different versions of the, like the honors and, different versions of that pre-calculus, where sometimes classes, or sometimes, each school is only going to be able to offer certain forms of each class. So I don't know. So definitely some interesting things. Trombone guy, I used to play trombone. So I like the name. I'm confused on the inverse, cosine, sine, and tangent. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was going to do some questions. I just kind of keep on getting on a tangent. I like being able to not sometimes have these open Q&A, so I'm always answering questions. But I see you, Trevor Lee. So yes, go ahead and go with your question. I'll be looking out for that, and I'll do my best to answer it. Can I use the restroom? No, you may not. All right. David Nemert says, for my school, the teachers are posting assignments and discussions every day starting tomorrow. That's awesome. That's very good to hear. What about as far as like posting assignments? Like, what are your assignments on as far as discussions every day starting tomorrow? Oh, I guess you guys will maybe have discussions online. So it looks like you guys at least have a system built out. I think that's some of the things that we're looking into trying to do as well. I think it's really going to kind of depend on how long we're going to be out. Do you favorite students? Jasmine, I think that's like one of those things where it's like you, as a teacher, you try always not to, favorite students, but I always think there's like a bias, because humans, obviously there's always going to be, I don't know. I think a bias is always going to play. So it's always one of those, you always have to step back from your environment and your element and always reassess, how you're applying things. And this is something I always try to do, and again, like sometimes, sometimes when you're talking to a certain way and you can see how they react, you're like, oh, wait, I got to step out, and kind of think about whatever's going on or whatever my past experience was with that student. Like sometimes you got to clean the slate and say, okay, I got to make sure I approach this, in this scenario. I didn't mean to maybe talk back to the student or say something in that way, but I could see how they maybe perceived it. It's the same thing with students, picking on the same students all the time, or picking on certain, class, certain, groups inside the classroom. I think it's just one of those natural things that humans, we naturally do. And so I think it's that goal of the teacher to always kind of step back and be as objective as possible. But no, I obviously don't try to purposely select or favorite any students. Can you go over logarithmics? Man, you guys are asking a lot of different, very vague questions. I do have one question, but again, guys, I will say the more specific you can be with your questions, the much greater likelihood I can be able to answer your questions. And by the way, I'm only going to be going live here for just about 30 minutes. So I don't want to take on too many questions that I'm not going to be able to answer. Completeness from California, Victor Amber. Tech Grid, can you go over logarithmics? Sure, but that's a lot to cover with logarithmics. So maybe if you have something specific you'd like me to kind of address, I can do my best. Nikki Wild said, Mr. McGlow, can you help me with Algebra 1? Well, awesome. Very happy to help you. Polynopes Adra, can you go over finding the distance by using the distance formula? I can. So I can cover that. Let's see. Want to make sure I kind of come back over to some of those other questions. There was also functions. This is a student asked some questions. Functions for like operations. And I think they said rational and radical. So I'm going to do both and just kind of see how that goes. And then let's kind of see back in from there. I'm for Canada. I believe the pre-calculus is going to be the same for both countries. For countries, they're asking if it was the same in Canada, which I believe it would be the same. My kind of point is, sometimes we have like an ACE or an IB pre-calculus or an ACE pre-calculus, or, maybe like a more of just a college-bound, honors pre-calculus, or maybe just even not so much, a standardized pre-calculus, just basically something that's going to, after Algebra 2 or, that kind of progression that maybe just for students that are not ready to take calculus, but maybe just something that's a little bit more advanced and getting into those trigonometry kind of topics. So I don't know. That's what I was kind of thinking of is, different opportunities. Sometimes people want to go into pre-calculus, but they're not really ready a lot for the rigor of pre-calculus in preparing them for calculus. Okay. I got you, David. I see what you're saying here. Should I do my homework, Savage? I would recommend, yes, go ahead and do your homework. Oh, well, thank you, Alex. That's very nice of you. Going through, can you please do some confirmations of identities? Geez, I can, but I don't really want to make up identities. There's a lot for me to go through on that. I'm in college. We're planning on using Zoom. That's going to be very interesting. I want to see, some of the classes I do here that they're going to like Zoom and whatever else. And I think that's going to be kind of an interesting thing. I was interested about that, is like using Zoom and, kind of getting students inside. It's like for a whiteboard. I think it's a beneficial, thing. I mean, it's obviously though, same kind of thing. You can only, keep the attention for the focus, for so long. That's why I'm doing like this 30 minutes. Like, I'm just trying to think of like, I can see like 30 minutes really be just like your instructional time. And then maybe like a 30 minutes of just like a open Q&A where it's like the teacher is just available to like answer questions, or maybe like rephrase some things or do some extra examples that maybe you're stuck on, I'm just thinking out loud as far as how maybe something like that would work as far as a instructional as well as, teaching online. Cause I think there's that one component, I do a lot of videos for my students and I'll make the videos and provide them, but also kind of like that if they're just watching online, they miss that like natural integration with me to be able to like ask, like raise their hand, like, hey, I'm not understanding this. Or could you maybe give another example or kind of explain this step? I think that's a really important in the learning process. And it's great to have videos that you can like, send for students to like rewatch or rewind or stuff like that. But I think you also lose though that interaction, which I think is very important. Could you clear your throat, Jaden? Sorry, Jaden. My throat's not clear. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm like bent over. But maybe it feels better. All right. Geometric series. I don't know what else you want me to cover on geometric series, but I do not recall the formulas or anything else that I would need to be able to use for that. So I apologize from there. Could you give an example of system of three equations? No, I do not have anything from that. Riemann hypothesis, I don't, not something I've covered recently that I feel comfortable kind of going over these. Starling, you only need to type it in once, but I will be doing these live streams every night this week. And if we are out of school for next week, I will cover that as well. Tess says, what school do you teach at? I teach in Jacksonville, Florida, Mandarin High School. And how long did you play trombone? I played trombone guy. I played it from, let's see, fifth grade through my senior year. So yeah, I played in the marching band and the symphonic band. And yeah, so I played through from fifth grade on. Actually, I still have my trombone. Hey, actually, I got it right here. Just so you know, it's got my nice little blue case. So it was duct tape and everything else on it. Kind of a odd thing. It was like one of those things, I don't know, when I went home, I was like, hey, I want my trombone back. And so I brought home my trombone. I've taken it out of the case once and I play with it. I'm not really sure why I brought it home or if it's ever going to be used again. But yeah, I actually do have that. There's my trombone. So true. All right. Can I do the sum and difference? Yes, I can. But guys, you know, the main important thing. So let me kind of tell you some things that I want you guys to be aware of or to kind of go through, because I'm only gonna go live here for about 30 minutes. So I'm only going to be able to cover some of your questions. But I did do a community post on my channel about doing my Q&A. So please feel free, guys, if you do have some questions that are coming up throughout this year, or not throughout this year, throughout this week, if you do have some questions, feel free just to go to that post and then add any questions you have there. If it's not specific enough or I have further elaborate questions I want you to elaborate on, I will let you know. It's a lot easier to kind of do that back and forth there than it is to kind of keep on trying to check your questions up on there. If you do have something that's specific that you can give to me that I can cover, then I'll be able to do that. But a lot of times, just lines or graphing doesn't really help me understand what I need to be able to do for this. So, well, hey, Mr. Beast, again, thank you very much for that 99 cents super chat. I do appreciate you joining on the stream as well as adding to the super chat. Thank you very much. And if you do have a question, just not for the Pincho question, because I still have not been able to identify what it is you want. But if you do have some other questions, please feel free to let me know and I'll be happy to add in for you. All right. Can you cover inscribed angles? Christina, probably not. It's just been a while. I would, again, if you add into, that's what I'm saying, guys, a lot of these questions, I would just need some time to sit down and look at. Cause when you're doing a live stream, I've already made mistakes on live streams or got stumped on live stream. Cause you're one, you got the lights on you got everybody in the camera, you got this, you got the chat going on. It's my brain is processing a lot. So I've kind of come to the point, if there's not something that I'm my brain immediately goes what exactly I need to, teach and how to explain it, then I just say, you know what, it's just not worth the time to try to fumble through my explanation and give you guys something that's not a good quality explanation on the spot. So then I'll just kind of let you know and unfortunately just say, hey, I'm just not going to be able to do it for the live stream. However, if you do go ahead and put those questions on the community chat, then I just have a little bit more time and it's a little bit easier to be able to look at them, let my brain process what you're asking, and then either respond to you there or add them to the live stream. So that is true for my open Q&A, but it also be true for the live streams for this week. But really for this week, I really, guys, just wanted to kind of have some fun and talk to many of you guys that have kind of joined in on live streams before. And, you just don't really have that time to ask me questions because I'm kind of always, when I do these previous live streams, I'm just always doing math questions. And so, obviously it's cool and fun to just do math, but but also I think it's kind of important too to just kind of let you guys ask questions, why rotation of 2 pi on a 2D shape turns it to 3D shape? Not sure, Clasher, of your question or if I can do that. Can you find the distance between 2 parallel lines? I'm so confused. Kiwi, I would just find a point on those parallel lines. Sir, when your birthday? My birthday's in January 31st. Traumo guy, just be careful. It is a very fast spreading virus, so I'm pretty sure it's going to encompass a lot. Yes, the pinches. P squared equals 6p to the 10th equals subtract 7 and so on. I got to look back more up to those pinches. But again, if you want to reach out to me directly as far as what you're looking at, Mr. Beast, I do appreciate it. Yes, compound interest. That's not something I would just want to go ahead and look at. Fox says, can you solve the coronavirus problem? Unfortunately, I am not qualified to really so much fix it or is really kind of address a lot of it. But there is some really, really good tutorials as far as like, as far as like the exponential and logistic growth of that virus. And it was funny. I saw somebody, post like all the math textbooks are now going to be using a virus epidemic as far as like to teach, exponential growth and decay and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, pretty much. That's something, people now can relate to, at least in this recent, recent times. Can you teach something incorrectly? You would not want to teach something incorrectly, Victor. I'm not sure what Victor is asking. Oh, yeah, something. Oh, you're asking for the arithmetic sequence. Yeah, that's the formula for the arithmetic sequence, I believe, for the sum of any number, but I'm not sure what you would, what I'm asking or what you would need, for that. But again, it's been a while. I would just want to like review arithmetic and geometric sequences just to make sure like I am like teaching them, correctly. Just because it's been a while. It's something I used to teach, so it'd be something I would just quickly need to review. Is this our sub? Yeah, you can maybe think of me as your sub. That's fine. I'll take that. I've actually never subbed. It's kind of a weird thing. A lot of people think that, teachers, when they like go to college and like you sub and trying to get a job, but I've actually never been a substitute teacher. I've been a student, obviously like a student teacher, when I was getting my degree, but obviously I'd take over the class, which was basically kind of being like a sub, but the kids already knew me, but I've never actually gone into a classroom where nobody knew who I was and then subbed. And yeah, I just thought that was I thought most people, I think, have always had that experience. At least teachers have had that experience. But I've never had that experience. It's kind of been an interesting one. All right. Well, higher order derivatives. I'm not sure. You'd have to give me some examples. But again, it's just been a while since I just went over differentiation as well as integration or the antiderivative somebody was asking about. I'm perfectly fine to cover it. If you want to ask it to my community chat, I'll just make sure I can review it and just think through it. It's just not something that I've been teaching, for same thing like Rolle's theorem. It's just not something I've gone over recently. So if you just want to type it into the community chat on my recent post for this week, then I'll just give me a little bit more time to kind of cover what exactly you're looking for. But again, if you can like add it to a problem or at least something else, that's a little bit easier for you to go. Jonathan says, where'd you go to college? I went to Western Michigan University and I have a degree in education with a concentration in mathematics. And Madoff is asking, what do you watch? Well, no sports right now. But since I grew up in Michigan, I am basically a Lions and Tigers and Pistons and Red Wings fan, as well as Spartans and Wolverine. So, and obviously, of course, Western Michigan, my alma mater. But yeah, basically all Michigan sports. And then also I live in Florida for Jacksonville. So definitely a Jaguars fan as well. So, and then also I do follow rugby because that was a game I played for a while as well. What's the inverse of ln of x? That is going to be e to x. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. All right. What's the inverse? Oh yeah, that was the other thing, the inverse functions. That was another question somebody asked. Inverse trig functions. All right, guys, I said I was only going to be doing this for 30 minutes, so I'm going to try to get to some of these. And then f of x, I love that name. That's a very cool name. But thank you so much for answering some of these questions. I think that's just a really cool screen name. I love that. Let the guys teach me. Yeah, I'll be able to get to my questions. Don't worry. Can you help me on this distance problem? Find the distance between those two problems. Well, what I would do is I would just plug in a value of x, for instance, 0. And then if you plug in, somebody did ask me, well, why don't we just get through this? So kind of going into this, we have this distance formula between 2 points. So y equals negative 4x plus 5. And y equals negative 4x plus 7. Okay, so I'll kind of add those two questions in there. How are you streaming today? I'm not sure what you mean. How am I streaming today? I am interesting. Annie, that sounds like a great question, but I just need time to look at it a little bit more. I've learned the math from Brian, only have to adapt it to teachers. Yeah, I think our grading system needs definitely a lot of work, Alex. I do definitely agree with you. And I have a lot of video ideas that I want to do to talk about that. Because I think our grading system, and I keep on adapting it with my students and trying to keep on coming up with the best way to, grade students and have their grade represent not only, not just like their effort or, how much they understand, definitely not their behavior, but making sure it's like a grade that, best represents their understanding and their ability to be able to extract the information, and not just extract the information, meaning, or like apply the information, being able to like not so much understand it and be able to like regurgitate it, but actually be able to, apply it and analyze it, and all those higher order thinking, higher level thinking stuff. You can curve their grades, right? You can curve their grades. Yes, I don't do many curves of the grades. What I'll do one of these videos coming up that you guys can see exactly how my grades are combined. So therefore you guys can kind of see what I do for my grades. I did curve their last test because it was a hard test, and I curved it the year before that as well. And, but yeah, besides that, I try not to curve anything for them. All right. Yeah, coronavirus. I mean, the only thing I'd say is stay inside. It's coronavirus. That's just stay inside. Let's try to get this thing. It is good to see that, places like China and Hong Kong, for at least what I've seen, I'm not sure what other countries have kind of already, are kind of seem like they're on the tail end of this virus. So hopefully that is something to look forward to here in the United States, as well as in Europe and, other countries that are kind of the beginning or middle stages of this kind of epidemic here. So hopefully that is something that we can all strive for. And it's not going to get too much worse from there. Oh, okay. All those questions. So I guess my 30 minutes didn't really work out so well. So let me go ahead and address these couple quick questions. I'm not going to go very in depth with theirs, but thank you so much, guys, for joining. I will be actually, I'm going to start doing the math, so I'm not going to be looking into the chats. If you do have a question though, feel free to get into the chat, and hopefully you guys can help each other out and answer those questions. I will be live again, tomorrow night at 9:00 for you guys. And then I do want to also go live again, just randomly during the day, from my phone, just because I want to pick up those skills. It was very awkward going live earlier today. It was the first time going live from my phone, and I'm going to keep that live stream up because for any of you guys that are interested in starting a YouTube channel or, whatever, and you're kind of like afraid to get on the camera or to go live and whatever else, I'm going to leave that video up there because it was very awkward for me to be able to do it. It was very bad. It was like sideways. I was looking at the wrong side. Like it was just a really bad live stream. I should have just done it unlisted, but I'm going to keep it up there because I want you guys to learn from this. Like that was my first time. I don't really care how bad it is. I want to look back at that and, 5 years from now and be like, wow, look how bad that first live stream was from my phone, and that's the way I approach it. It's kind of like the same thing when I first started making YouTube videos. Like I would just make videos. I didn't even care how bad they were. And they were bad. If you go and look at my videos and like search the oldest to like newest, I don't know why I'm telling you to do this, but the older videos are some classics of just poor, very poor instruction and video and no audio quality, lighting, and it's good stuff. All right. So again, just to add on, hey Adeline, good to see you. And but yeah, I'll be going live, guys, every night tonight, every night this week. Well, actually, until I go back to school. So every night till 9 p.m. I think for that, at least this week we're off of school. I might be off next week. We'll see. But if I'm going back to school, I'm not doing live streams every night. That's just a little too much. But for this week, I've at least decided I will be going live. And then what else did I say? Oh yeah, and then I'm just gonna try to go live just randomly during the day and just to say I might mix it up though. I'm probably gonna not do it on YouTube. Might go on Instagram or on Facebook as well, and just to kind of mix it up. So, or also and then get back on my TikTok element. I gotta pick up my game there as well. So all right, so let's go through. Let's see, I got 3 questions. I'm just going to answer these rather quickly because I said I was going to do a live stream for 30 minutes and it's already been 30 minutes. I haven't answered one question yet. So, but that's okay. No, I'm not in Ivy school. We are in A school though, actually, Claudia. So we have ACE, which is very similar to Ivy. But if I wanted to find the distance formula, most of you do not remember the distance formula. We just actually kind of taught it. So it's kind of fresh in my brain. But basically, if you just think of like plotting 2 points and then using, the Pythagorean theorem, you can arrive at the distance formula. But what if you had 2 equations? If you need to find the distance between the 2 equations? Well, my best advice would be to find the 2 points. So why don't we just find 2 points on those both lines? So why don't we say when x equals 0, and let's just plug when x equals 0 into this equation, I have y equals 5. So therefore I have a point 0, 5 here. And then if I said x equals 0 to the other equation, then I'd have y equals -4 times 0 plus 7. So therefore, this would be y equals 7. So my other point is going to be 0, 7. Right? Now, actually, I don't really need to use distance formula for this, but I guess I could. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So hopefully you can see that the distance between those is going to be 2, right? Now, because again, you could just count them. Now, what if they weren't on the, what if they weren't on there? Like, what if I had another point, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 1. Like, how would you find that distance there? And let's do 0, 5 here. Okay. So this is the answer. One question actually a student wanted, but I don't know why. That was a lot easier just to do it from using x as 0. So finding 2 points, and that works. But what if I had the 2 points? I needed to use the distance formula for 0, 5 and 5, 1. Well, again, if you create a little triangle here, which we call like a slope triangle, basically the Pythagorean theorem says if you can be able to find these 2 side lengths and then you find the sum of the 2 squares of those 2 sides, that's going to equal to the hypotenuse squared. So basically what I want to do is find the the vertical change and the horizontal change. So we can call this like x1, y1, call this x2, y2. And that's why the the distance formula basically is saying that the horizontal change, which is basically going to be 5 minus 0 quantity squared, plus the vertical change, which would be 1 minus 5, right? And again, like you can just count that. Like you don't need to do 1 minus 5. But if you think about it, like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's either change positive or negative, but it doesn't matter because you're going to square them, equals the distance squared. And then obviously you'd square root both sides. 5 minus 0 is going to be 25. I'm not really doing the full distance formula, as you can see. 1 minus 5 is going to be -4. -4 squared is going to be positive 16. D equals the square root of 41. So obviously that's not the distance formula, or at least the form, like the x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. But hopefully you just kind of see, see why we use those formulas. Because basically, again, this is just the horizontal change. This is just the vertical change. So that's where these values are coming from. So hopefully that helps you out. Because really all you're doing is all you're doing is using the Pythagorean theorem. All right, the student asked for finding function operations for radical and rational, but they didn't really give me if they wanted just a radical with radical or radical with rational. So I am just going to say, I don't know, I'm just going to maybe combine both of them. And let's say maybe g of x equals like 1 over x. I don't know, just do something simple. So what if I had f of, let's do this. What if I just did f plus g of x? So again, all that's going to be is square root of x plus 1 over x. Now, if you have a radical plus a rational, again, the rational is just a fraction, guys, right? To add fractions, you got to have common denominators. So you're going to put that over 1 and then get the common denominator here. So therefore, you would multiply by x over x plus 1 over x. Now again, here the denominators are the same, so therefore you can combine them, and that's the main idea with adding fractions, is you got to get the common denominators. And then, in addition to that, sorry, just go ahead and checked into. Now you can go ahead and add them up with their common denominators. And again, the key to like adding with radicals is, again, the radicand and the index have to be exactly the same. So that means they have to both be square roots or cube roots. And then the radicand, which is under the radical, also has to be the same for you to combine them. Here I only have one radical, so I can't come do anything. But my final answer would be 1 plus x square root of x all over x. And don't divide those out because that x is dividing to both of those terms. So hopefully that helps. I don't know if you have more questions or problems that I can elaborate on, just let me know. All right, the last one is just kind of this inverse trig. And this one is kind of like tricky, or at least just the student was asking like to understand inverse trigonometry. So let's just kind of think about the cosine graph. So if you're to do the cosine graph, now again, remember this graph goes on and on forever, right? It's never going to stop. Now, the inverse of a function is reflect about the y equals x line. Well, the problem is if you were to reflect the cosine graph about the y equals x line, then you'd have a graph that looks like this. Or sorry, looks like that. There we go. Right? You'd have a graph that looks like that, which is not going to work because that's not going to pass the vertical line test, right? Because if this is going to be f of x equals cosine of x, and this is the g of x, which equals cosine inverse of x, this is called the inverse function. It needs to be a function. This is not a function. So then what we do is we were going to restrict the graph. Now, how should we restrict the graph? Well, we got to restrict it between an interval that will pass the vertical line test. So the interval that we choose here is between these two lines, okay? And then what we do is we just eliminate the rest of this. Now, I'm going to leave that up there just because I want you guys to see like where it came from. Okay, so it's still like there, but now we're only looking at that restriction between those two values. Now, a lot of students say, well, you know, what is that distance here from here to there? And basically we're taking this restriction of the domain for cosine of x, and that is what we're looking at for the reflection here. Well, if you look at, you know, from here to here is from 0 to 2 pi. So then this distance from here to here is going to be from 0 to pi. So that's why when we're doing restrictions for cosine inverse, we're only looking for the angles between 0 and pi on the unit circle. So hopefully that helps. It's not a very in-depth explanation, but hopefully that helps you out a little bit. I was in your pre-calculus in 2014 and 2015. That is awesome for you for here. And unfortunately, does not make any sense as far as who you would be, but that's very cool to see you back on the channel. I hope everything is doing very well, and always feel free to reach out to me, or of course, if you're in the area, you are always welcome to stop by the old stomping grounds. That is good to definitely see you. And again, it's like crazy. I was, oh, Roman. Hey, yes, I do remember you, Roman. Very good. Very good to see you on here, man. I hope everything is doing well for you. When you say 9, do you mean Pacific time? No, I mean Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Rodrigo, that's a great question. I'm not going to be able to get to it now because I'm tired and I've been live streaming for an extra 10 minutes than I need to. So therefore, guys, I am going to be signing off. But Rodrigo, if you want me to do that question for you next time, then please add it to my chat, because when I go live tomorrow, I will make sure that I check in on the community chat and pull some questions to be able to answer on there. So hello from Wisconsin. And DJ, good evening. Mustafa, I'm watching your videos, teacher. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure having you on the live stream for tonight. I am going to sign off. I will be back on, though, tomorrow night. If you guys do have questions, I hope you guys are being able to get the instruction that you need and be able to work things, but also hope that you are, taking some advantage to, get through all this craziness that is going in on the world and just doing the best to take care of yourself as well as your family. But anyways, guys, I will be out for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow, and I always look forward to my stream on my phone. Hopefully it's not as awkward as earlier today. All right, guys, have a good night. Cheers.